It's one of the great pitfalls of being a footballer that one mistimed tackle or awkward fall could cost you your entire career, and it could happen at any time. It is surreal to think that either Messi or Ronaldo, the two greatest players of this generation, could have suffered setbacks at the age of 16 or 17 that were so severe they either never came close to the levels that we've enjoyed over the last 10 to 15 years, or even worse, resulted in them having to stop playing altogether. There have been many great careers that have been prematurely halted, whether it be Marco van Basten at the age of 28, or Adrian Doherty, who was said to be as talented as Ryan Giggs at 16, but had his playing days cut short before his senior career had even begun, and tragically died at the age of 26. Those are some of the heartbreaking tales in which injuries prove to be too devastating, but sometimes a player gets a truly awful injury and diagnosis, but somehow manages to bounce back, defying the laws of medicine, typically through a combination of hard work and good luck. There are examples of such players at almost every club. The one closest to my heart, as a Hull City fan, is club legend Ian Ashby, who was told he may never be able to walk again after being diagnosed with a degenerative bone condition. Ashby had 14 holes drilled into his femur in an attempt to stimulate regrowth. It worked, and he went on to become the first man to captain a club through all 4 divisions of the English Football League. So that is one such example, but here are 7 more that aren't anything to do with East Yorkshire's finest club. Aaron Ramsey. An injury that is still fresh in most of your minds, I'm sure, and a player that is still fresh in mine, since I thought he was one of the standout players for Juventus in their 3-0 win against Barcelona in the Champions League group stages. Aaron Ramsey's injury, at a very young age, was a horrific one. The injury came in February 2010, midway through Ramsey's second season at Arsenal, and his first as a regular in the Gunners' starting 11. The Welshman was just starting to leave a lasting impression in Arsene Wenger's side when he was involved in a sickening clash with Stoke City captain Ryan Shawcross. I watched the incident back so that you don't have to, because it's one of those that makes you sick to the pit of your stomach, and the reaction of the players around Ramsey at the time tells you all that you need to know. And also, I'm not going to show you any images of the break itself. It was clear that the 19-year-old had suffered a shocking leg break, and the X-ray revealed that it was a double leg fracture, with breaks to both the fibula and tibia. There were initial fears regarding the future of Ramsey's playing career for someone so young, but he made a startling recovery. Within a month, he was back walking on crutches, within 8, he was back on the training ground, and the following month, he was back out playing for the Gunners reserves. Naturally, it set his development back, and Ramsey had loan spells at Nottingham Forest and Cardiff City to regain fitness. Ultimately though, the energetic midfield all-rounder went on to register the best part of 400 appearances at the Emirates, becoming a legend of the late Wenger era. Ramsey joined Juventus in 2019, winning a Serie A title in his debut campaign, and his worst injury since 2010 was the lengthy hamstring injury layoff that he suffered right at the end of his time in North London. FRANCESCO TOTTI. Before I get underway with this segment, a quick shout out to Michael, who I just remembered suggested this idea on Wednesday morning's video, so thanks to Michael. From a hero of the HITC Sevens comment section to a hero of the city of Rome though, 6th place brings us to the gladiator, the one and only Francesco Totti. A one-club man who scored 307 goals in 786 games for Roma, Totti is so beloved by Roma fans that he could out himself as a fan of James Corden and Mrs. Brown's Boys, and they still wouldn't take away his key to the city. Almost at the exact midpoint in Totti's playing days though, he suffered an injury so serious, it prompted fears he would have to cut his entire career short at the age of only 29. Just 12 minutes into the penultimate game of Roma's longest ever winning streak of 11 games, Totti received an aggressive challenge from behind. Empoli's Richard Veneglia was the guilty party, and Totti suffered a leg break. His left fibula was fractured, and he had sustained serious ligament damage. The previous weekend, Totti had asked for protection from referees and complained about defenders hacking at his ankles. From early concerns about his ability to recover, following surgery, the injury turned out to be less serious than first feared. Totti recovered at a record speed, putting himself back in contention for Italy's 2006 World Cup squad. Totti made the cut, and despite concerns about his fitness, he played in every game as Italy were crowned world champions, and he made the tournament's all-star team. HENRIK LARSSON. Another legend of the game who had fantastic longevity, there was a time early on in Henrik Larsson's time at Celtic that his enormous talent was almost snatched away from him. Signed by Celtic for just £650,000 following a mediocre spell at Feyenoord, Larsson was an immediate hit at Parkhead, and he scored 38 goals in only his second season with the club. Early on in his third season though, in October 1999, LARSSON broke his leg in 2 places when tackled by defender Serge Blanc in a UEFA Cup tie against Lyon. A little like RAMSEY's injury against Stoke, you didn't need a degree in medicine to be able to tell that LARSSON had done some serious damage. He was almost immediately ruled out for the rest of the season, and I won't be showing you the image of his leg break either. Some feared this situation could be even worse than a season-long sidelining. LARSSON stated that he knew his leg was broken when he lifted it and it was hanging the wrong way, which does tend to be a dead giveaway. So severe was the damage that the Swede had to have a titanium rod inserted into his leg and struggled to walk without assistance for months. He set himself the ambitious goal of returning in time for the Euros in only 8 months' time, and remarkably, he managed it. LARSSON returned in Celtic's final game of the season, and he scored once for Sweden at Euro 2000 against Italy. It was his comeback following that summer that is a real testament to LARSSON's mental strength and powers of recovery though. He looked sharper than ever, finding the back of the net 53 times in only 50 games, becoming the first Scandinavian to win the European Golden Shoe. LARSSON played on for a decade following that injury, cementing his status as a Celtic legend before helping Manchester United to a Premier League title and Barcelona to the Champions League. Patrick Battiston. You'll sometimes hear people saying about a terrible challenge that isn't met with a red card, if you did that to someone on the street, you'd be arrested. Which may well be true, but is a bit of a limp argument. If you man-mark someone in public for 90 minutes, you may well get done for stalking and indecent assault, and even a firm but fair aerial battle with an old woman outside of Tesco is likely to get you in a bit of trouble, yet both are perfectly fine in football. Nonetheless, I'm about to invoke that ill-conceived saying, since if Harald Schumacher cleaned out Patrick Battiston as he did at the 1982 World Cup in almost any other circumstances, he'd probably have been charged with attempted murder. In a clash to the head that was so violent it could have led to a brain bleed and eventual death, and that is no exaggeration, Battiston was knocked out cold. Even at a time when head injuries were neither as well understood or treated with as intense care, everyone knew this one was cause for concern. Battiston was knocked clean out, totally unresponsive, with Michel Platini fearing that he was dead. His teeth had been knocked out, his vertebrae damaged, and he later slipped into a coma. Incredibly, Schumacher wasn't even penalised for the foul, never mind sent off, in an incident that made Jordan Pickford's challenge on Virgil van Dijk seem clean as a whistle. Thankfully, Battiston emerged from his coma, and the 25-year-old returned to the pitch as strong as ever, going on to win multiple Liga titles with both Bordeaux and Monaco, and 56 caps for France. Zlatan Ibrahimovic. I included this one partly because at the time of the injury in question, I really felt that would be Zlatan Ibrahimovic done at the highest level. I wasn't someone who felt that he wouldn't hack it in the Premier League, but following a sensational season at Old Trafford, given his age, I suspected the severity of the ligament damage he suffered as a 35-year-old would spell the end of Ibrahimovic's career in one of Europe's top 5 leagues. A 7-month return time was phenomenal, but in some respects, the early signs suggested that I and others may have been right. Ibrahimovic only scored once in 7 games for Manchester United following his return, before signing for MLS outfit LA Galaxy. However, Ibrahimovic's form in the States suggested that he was far from done. The athleticism was back, the confidence was back, and he couldn't stop scoring. The towering taekwondo-loving Swede bagged 53 goals in 58 games in the City of Angels, before making a sensational return to Serie A and to the San Siro with AC Milan. In just half a season, Ibrahimovic scored 11 goals in 20 games. In the early parts of this season, he has found the back of the net 11 times in 10 outings, propelling the Rossoneri to the top of the Serie A table. It's worth reminding ourselves that Ibrahimovic is 39 years old. To do what he is doing now, even if he'd never had so much as a stubbed toe or a paper cut, would be extraordinary. But given the ligament damage that he suffered at 35, it's one of modern football's biggest miracles, and a mark of his extraordinary self-belief, fitness, and dedication to the sport. Ronaldo Luis Nazario de Lima. The suggestion of Michael when he put this video to me in the comments, Ronaldo Luis Nazario de Lima takes second place. The most talented footballer of an entire generation, a teenage Ronaldo was unlike anything that had been seen before in football for decades, if not of all time. He had the absolute lot. Pace, power, phenomenal ability on the ball, and a lethal finish. Happy to drop deep or hang around the 6-yard box, Ronaldo twice set world record transfer fees before he had even turned 21. His career-threatening injury occurred in the 1999-2000 season, when Ronaldo was still only 23. The first injury in this seven, I believe, that didn't come as a consequence of contact with another player, Ronaldo simply felt his knee buckle during a game against Lecce. A medical exam revealed a ruptured tendon, but Ronaldo returned in April of 2000. Upon his return though, 6 minutes into the game, Ronaldo collapsed. He had suffered a complete rupture of the tendons in his kneecap. Surgeons and physios described it as the worst football injury that they had ever seen, and a return date, or even a return at all, seemed unclear. From the first injury to his return, Ronaldo was essentially sidelined for 2 years. Whilst he would never rediscover that stunning acceleration, he still became the best player on the planet once again and put in a stunning performance as Brazil won the 2002 World Cup. Recurring injuries plagued him for the rest of his career, but his legacy is untouched by them. Santi Cazorla. Dear all Spaniards, I know it isn't pronounced Santi Cazorla, but when I try to pronounce it properly, all anyone talks about in the comments is the way I said his name, so I'm just going to say it like an uncultured lout. Cazorla is a magnificent two-footed midfield technician with a fantastic football brain, and he lit up the Premier League during his first 4 years at Arsenal. Sadly, the Spaniard's later years in England would be plagued by injuries, most notably a devastating setback relating to his Achilles. The injury occurred in the Champions League in a tie in which Arsenal beat Ludogorets Razgrad 6-0. Cazorla had already scored twice during that game, and the injury came as he made an assist for Mesut Ozil. The initial diagnosis was bad, but not disastrous. Damage to his Achilles tendon, a medium-term spell on the sidelines. Unfortunately, however, the injury just wouldn't recover. After 2 months waiting, Cazorla went under the knife, but the operation wasn't a success. In the end, Cazorla underwent 8 operations on his ankle, with doctors fearing he may even have to have the leg amputated. It was discovered that he had contracted gangrene, which was in effect eating away at the tissue in his tendon. A successful skin graft alleviated fears of amputation, but a return to football laid in doubt, as his Arsenal contract ended, with Cazorla not having played a game in almost 2 years. Cazorla subsequently began training with Alaves' youth team, building up fitness before being offered a contract by his former club Villarreal. Incredibly, the 35-year-old midfielder returned to action as though he'd never been away, controlling games and bagging plenty of goals and assists. His form was so impressive that he even earned a recall to the Spanish national team before joining Qatari outfit Al Sadd in the summer just gone. A truly extraordinary comeback. It's almost enough to make you forgiven for scoring a free kick against Hull City in the 2014 FA Cup final. Almost. Not quite. So that's it for today's video. But thank you all for watching, give us a like if you enjoyed the video, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments, and make sure to subscribe to the one and only HITC Sevens. Oh, and you can also find me on Twitter or Instagram, should you wish to do so, via the username @HITC Sevens on both platforms.